How's it going, everybody? This is Rob Novakast back with another video. And, well, I figured I'd do another review for this, for the channel. And, surprisingly, I thought this was one that I have already done before, but apparently not. Hellraiser, which was released in 1987, is about a woman who discovers the newly resurrected, partially formed body of her brother-in-law, and she begins to kill, well, everyone that she can to revitalize his body and escape a demonic being, or beings, or travelers for that matter, and that are, well, pursuing him. It was directed by Clive Barker, written by Clive Barker, starring Andrew Robinson, Claire Higgins, and Ashley Lawrence. Now, recently I did a reaction of, I guess, a reboot that's coming out. Either reboot or continuation of what is to be Hellraiser. And I gotta say, with what we're seeing for Hulu, it is creative, to say the least. And I mentioned how provocative this particular franchise is. And to an extent, I stand by that statement. Is when it comes down to it, especially with the first couple of films, it is very well done when it comes down to its theme, the story that is created, or at least the setting, or at least, I guess, if anything, the reality that is created within Hellraiser, as well as the dark, very dark, like, entities that reside in this realm of existence. I guess, if anything, to talk about story first, not going into spoilers, because when it comes down to a lot of the films nowadays, I ask you guys to go check it out. I'm going to try not to spoil as much as possible, but just giving a few key themes as to what happens in the film. And I guess to start us off, yes, there is a woman who is trying to revitalize her brother-in-law / lover, but for the most part, I don't want to say it kind of just focuses on her. If anything, it also focuses on the daughter of the husband, who, to an extent, comes across what basically starts everything, the box, or the lament configuration, as it's called in the films, which is basically a puzzle box that, once you open it, releases these creatures known as Cenobites. And I say creatures because even though you look at IMDb, it says hell, to an extent that might be, or like hellish creatures, that might be debatable, because in some theories they're not exactly demons, but rather some sort of travelers, so to speak. But anyways, going further than that, we have the character Frank, who, like, when the movie first starts, is the first one to come across the box. He unlocks it and is taken away, torn apart, so to speak, and is basically resurrected into our world, and basically has to consume the life out of others in order to reform his body. And inevitably, it ends, or at least, by the end, all of his plans are foiled. I don't want to go into too much detail, but they do. As well as the daughter character kind of being traumatized by the experience that has been fallen upon them. I will say, again, the story itself is very simple, as well as, to an extent, as we first grasp the concept of Hellraiser, or at least the Cenobites and the cube, it's made very clear that, when it comes down to it, this is something, this is an object that should not be messed with, but at the same time we are drawn to it. It's kind of like the One Ring in that sense. So story-wise, honestly, for the time that it was released, which was 1987, I will admit it was pretty good. Now, going into well, the acting, so to speak, we do got to talk about a few of the, well, the actors. Andrew Robinson playing as Larry, as well as Sean Chaplin playing as, or Chapman playing as Frank, is interesting. Actually, more focusing on the Larry character, because by the end, something does happen where Larry changes. Again, I'm not going to spoil it. Go check it out if you guys, and I should mention that if you guys do check it out, make sure you're not squeamish, because this film can be very gory to an extent, because again, you have parts where people are ripping each other open, so to speak. But anyways, the acting from Andrew Robinson is really, really good. Claire Higgins also does really good. At first, like when you see her as Julia, the wife, so to speak, there's kind of a gambit of emotions, so to speak, or at least, if anything, you kind of see like firsthand the kind of person she is. And what I mean by that is, to an extent where, again, she is married to the Larry character, but she is or has had feelings during the relationship with Larry, with Frank. So there is emotions of, betrayal and just, somebody who is basically broken that bond with, their loved one. Now, Christy, played by Ashley Lawrence, is kind of like the character that, again, even though in IMDb and other areas you're not going to hear much, just focusing on Julie resurrecting Frank, Ashley Lawrence's character Christy plays a pivotal role towards the very end, especially when she herself also gets a hold of the box. And it's somewhat implied that there might be more to her, but that's for later films. I don't want to go in again. I keep saying it, but spoilers. Go watch it. All in all, the acting is really good. Apparently, from what I've heard, this was, I guess, set in Britain, and for an American audience, strangely enough, you guys correct me, but this is something I heard, that apparently a lot of the dialogue was dubbed for just an American, with American accents. It was really, if that's the case, that's really weird. I would have wanted to see what it would have sounded like with like the British accents and stuff. Either way, acting is, really, really, really amazing. And by the way, we shouldn't forget a few of the other actors, like Doug Bradley playing Pyramid Head, or as he's called, the lead Cenobite. Which, fun fact, apparently the creators of the Hellraiser, I think comics, did not like the name Pinhead, and I think I just called him Pyramid Head. I don't know why I did, but to an extent, he doesn't like that name, and if anything, either it's the lead Cenobite or the priest. So that's actually pretty cool too. Now going further, talking about effects. Since again, this is like around the 80s, a lot of it's practical effects, and actually, if anything, all of it's practical effects, but it is done well, like really well. Especially with apparently a low, because I guess they had a low budget back in that day, when they first came out with this movie. But what they did there, they did really well. There's a particular scene when Frank is coming back to our realm of reality, and the way you see the puppet, I guess you probably using reverse footage of the puppet kind of reforming itself and coming out of these floorboards is pretty cool. I'd show it, but I have a feeling I may get hit by copyright. But to an extent, it is done surprisingly well, especially with a lot of the other effects. Makeup on the when it comes down to that too is, oh my gosh. Now I will say, when it comes down to like monster designs, the Cenobites are gruesome to look at, and to an extent are an interesting cast of characters. And yeah, very, very, very grotesque. You have the lead Cenobite, you have the Chatterer, you have the female Cenobite, and this one that is a big old freaking big old Cenobite with glasses. All in all, looks interesting to say the least. Each and every one of them, and each of them kind of, if anything, the one that it does the most out of anything, because all of them just kind of stand there waiting for the next person to punish. The one that really does anything is the lead Cenobite. So, all in all, really, really good when it comes down to the effects department. Now, going on to music. This one's going to be interesting because, well, to a degree, it's very short. Or I guess if anything, the listing is very short, and I guess if anything, it's very dramatic when it comes down to the music that we have. And I don't want to go into too much, but it's, I guess, the one song, the one score that I have in my head right now, or at least as I'm recording this, is the one you'll probably hear most of all, especially with a lot of reviews, or if anything, a lot of the one that's referenced is usually the one that, like, near the very beginning, where it is very dramatic, very, I guess, I want to say forceful to a degree, and kind of really get your attention. So I think when it comes to music, they did a really good job with that, where it really does get your attention on what's to come, or at least the movie that you're about to watch. By the end of the day, I think this is, at least when it comes down to Hellraiser, like the first one, it is an interesting piece of film history, because to an extent it is dark, it is gruesome, and to a degree very, I'm using the word again, very provocative with its storytelling. Characters are, at least the few that we get, are interesting to say the least, especially with some of their motivations as well as their progression throughout the film. When it comes down to makeup, concept, monster designs, they hit the nail on the head. No pun intended. I guess that would be pin, but regardless, no, hit the nail on the head. Music, when it comes down to like music that is used, very loud, bombastic, forceful, and grabs your attention. Story-wise, honestly, again, very good, very good. So, with that being said, I'm like kind of figuring what to give this, because I don't want to feel like I'm overselling it. But honestly, as it is a very interesting film, and actually a very interesting film if you're looking into the history of films. This is one of those ones that should be looked at and observed, and as well as try to find your own interpretation of everything. So with that, I think I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. Honestly, it is a film that I, as weird as I am, I somewhat enjoyed. I like the lengths that they went to tell this story, as well as the effects and the music. Characters, as well as the actors that portray them, were, dare I say, fun and gruesome and vile. At least a few of them, but regardless. Yeah, so I think by the end, 10 out of 10, I enjoy this film. If I were to have to pick a favorite scene out of everything, it has to be between this one line that ends, or at least pops up near the very end of the film by the villain, or at least the character Frank. I don't want to go into too much. It's actually a really good line. And the scene where he is reforming and coming back to life, so to speak. So, all in all, that was my thoughts of Hellraiser. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below. As well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Hearts of